do I intend?
Well, those are windows that you're closing right now.
Oh yeah, which is worse, I think. Because I think that takes up more.
Maybe. I mean, Chrome is already a memory hog.
Yeah. She's a big bitch.
She thick with 2 C's.
Oh, good. Okay.
Are you gonna share it around, or
yeah,
no, we're waiting for
yeah,
the transmission.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the.
Okay.
We are live somewhere.
Somewhere, somehow, for some reason.
I can tell you with 100% certainty on one of our platforms. I can't tell you which one. We are live.
Somebody somewhere could be watching us right now.
Somebody somewhere probably is. Are.
It is done.
Yeah. Okay.
All right.
All right. Shall we? Yeah, we should probably
Let's get this train wreck off the rails.
Let's go. We're not a train wreck.
It's an expression.
Welcome back to Jedi Enclave. Apparently, the train wreck, which is actually our weekly podcast called the Jedi Enclave Presidency. Now, this is podcasting podcast.
You forgot to introduce yourself.
We're your the hosts.
Did you say horse?
I didn't. I was going to say horses, which I don't think is any better than saying horse.
Say, have you been watching Game of Thrones and their fascination with whores?
No. What? Well, okay. Well, first of all, I think you're thinking of The Sopranos.
Maybe?
Because that's how they say the word whore in Sopranos, because they're all from New Jersey.
All right.
We probably shouldn't be saying those words. Like
I said, train wreck.
YouTube,
we are off the rails.
YouTube's like, this is not for kids. No shit.
We are already demonetized.
We're your hosts. I'm Daniel.
I'm Chris.
And your weekly podcast called the Jedi Enclave Presents the Now This Podcasting Podcast, where we talk about Star Wars related things that aren't related to Star Wars.
Although this week it's gonna be a lot of Star Wars because there's actual Star Wars to talk about,
and that's usually how it happens. Like a lot of the times we talk about,
we goof around, we talk about the MCU and Batman and whatever else.
But when there's Star Wars,
it's fucking batten down the hatches.
Yeah. There's a lot of Star Wars. In fact, this is probably all Star Wars. At the end, if we have a little bit of time, we might squeeze in some Avatar: The Last Airbender because I've watched the first 3 episodes.
Okay.
And we're not going to go through each episode
in any detail.
Yeah.
Because there's just no time.
Right. But today, and there are like a couple Star Wars news things too.
Don't spoil it because you haven't told me what any of these are yet, and I want to give an authentic, untainted reaction to them.
Okay, so you said don't spoil it. Like at some point, I have to say what it is.
I assume you still have some spiel to go through because we haven't talked about Connor or following everything or being on Discord.
I'm going
blah,
through.
blah, blah.
I'm going through my list here. So we got big video game news for Star Wars.
Okay.
There's some big news about Star Wars Acolyte that has me thinking some crazy shit about it. And of course, Bad Batch season 3, episodes 1 through 3 today. That's kind of the main thing we're doing. So I think this version of the podcast is going to go out tomorrow, which is Sunday the 25th. Because we might like there's probably going to be a schedule change because
maybe
by the time there has to be because if we follow the normal schedule, this will come out the day the next episode is airing, which is far too late. So but what I'm saying is if you're watching this podcast in its official form on our YouTube channel, the time codes for the conversations will be in the description, which you can check out if you want to kind of peruse and listen to us talk about whatever. You can do that. And thank you, of course, to Connor at the Star Wars Hub and Star Wars Veritas. Go check him out. He's a cool guy. And then while you're here, since we're also cool guys, I've heard, you could leave us a like, give us a thumbs up. You could subscribe. You can join us on Discord. And we're on Discord, Facebook Live, Twitch,
YouTube.
and I think we have an Instagram that I've not looked at in forever.
Mm-hmm.
I think we're doing Battlefront 2 after this.
Okay.
I think it's either going to be Battlefront or Legos, or Lego Star Wars. So it'd be either one of those.
You'll just have to show up to find out.
Either way, we'll be talking about more Star Wars shit.
Mm-hmm.
So you should join us for that. No Gungans and Dragons tomorrow, unfortunately. However, I think we are going to try to do Jedi Enclave poker night again tomorrow.
Okay.
And I think we've picked up one more person.
Okay.
So we're getting there, which I get. Like, I get not a ton of people are into poker. I totally understand that. But I was like, if I can get 6 live people to play, that's like a good game, right? Because the last time we played, there were a lot of bots, which wasn't not entertaining. Like
they just do the craziest shit.
So, and I don't know, we streamed that the last time. You should join us on Discord if you're around tomorrow, which is Sunday at 7. Go to our voice channel. There should be a poker game running in app that you can join. So you can join us. If you don't know how to play, we'll teach you how to play.
It's fine. It's a very easy game.
Yeah. So
it's a very simple game. It's very difficult but simple.
Yeah. So I think we've got all the.
We're done with all that bullshit.
Yeah, I want to make sure that I've got the right stuff pulled up here, because we'll be reading comments when they come in. And also there were some comments. I put a post up earlier today for comments about Bad Batch, and we'll read those when we get there. So let's get some news out of the way first.
Okay.
The first thing, Star Wars Acolyte.
Okay.
There have been a lot of like Collider exclusives over the last couple of weeks, which is for me a trusted source.
Okay.
Way more than like Mike Zero or Star Wars Theory or some shit. Like they're generally pretty responsible about, especially when they say that like something is an exclusive, like they've talked to someone they know works somehow adjacent to what's happening with Star Wars, who would be in the know about it. Mm-hmm. So and I think like the last time we talked about, they're eyeing a June 5th release date, which is not that far away.
It's pretty soon.
Yeah. Which is super exciting.
That's a little over 3 months away.
Yeah, and then the one that we were talking about in that same report, it changed that. So we were assuming that Star Wars Acolyte takes place a couple hundred years before the Phantom Menace, which made sense. It was like the High Republic Jedi, like the Golden Jedi era and everything. Turns out it's like 50 years before the Phantom Menace, which kind of changes everything.
Yeah, that is recent enough that it is conceivable some character from the show could survive into the original trilogy.
And it goes the other way too, and I'll explain here in a second. Mm-hmm. Also this week we found out that Michael Abels, composer, is scoring the series.
Okay, and why is this significant?
So if you don't know who he is, he scored all of Jordan Peele's horror films, which by the way are all amazing. Mm-hmm. Nope, which if you've never seen it, all of his movies are so inventive and so crazy entertaining and hilarious and terrifying. It's just an experience to see them. John and I saw Nope in theaters, and I walked out of there like, oh my God, that was so good. He did. So that one is about a flying saucer shaped thing that keeps eating things.
Huh. Okay.
And the visuals are amazing, and there's a whole thing with it. One of his movies is called Us, also scored by Michael Abels, which is about everyone has a doppelganger underground, and they all come up to take back whatever, and mm-hmm. It's crazy, creepy, and weird, and scary and shit, and hilarious. And he did Get Out, which I think everyone knows about.
Yeah.
That's the
body snatching thing,
right? But specifically, a hyper racist, like someone, they take African Americans and implant white people's consciousness, and it's crazy.
Yeah,
but really entertaining, really scary, really hilarious in parts.
Mm-hmm.
All 3 of these films scored by Michael Abels. The scores are wacky and weird and just the goofiest shit, but it is scary and bizarre and grotesque. And I'm thinking, like, if you're going to have if you're shopping for composers, you know what you get with the person, right? You get John Williams, it's going to be some crazy symphonic,
neo-romantic, tons of melodies, insane string parts.
Yeah, it's just like everything about it is just big and out of this world and everything. If you hire Hans Zimmer, you're not going to get a lot of melody, but you're going to get a lot of like soundscapes and stuff. So like when you're shopping for composers, you want the sound that person represents. Yeah. And this guy's sound is scary and weird and grotesque and goofy and like you're like,
which suggests some very intriguing tonal possibilities for Acolyte.
Now here's the thing. Thank you for getting us back to Acolyte. John and I were talking about this morning because I was reading through, his history, like Michael Abels' history and stuff. And I was like, how old do you reckon Palpatine is in episode 1? Because like
40,
if it's
like mid to late 40s, early 50s, maybe?
Well, I don't think so. Because I was like, if this takes place 50 years before the Phantom Menace, that means that if he's 50, he's just being born.
Yeah.
And John's like, he's at least 65.
During Phantom Menace?
Yeah, 60 to 65. 60 being generous, which I agree. And I while I'm talking,
like I was gonna say, did you look this up? Because it would be
okay. So he's 52.
52 during Phantom Menace. So
he'd be 2 years old.
Depending on how you interpret about 50 years,
right?
It could be less.
Yeah,
which would make him 5 to 7 years old at this time period.
I am pretty sure, at the very least, they're doing Darth Plagueis.
Okay.
And I wouldn't be surprised if they do young Palpatine in this. So
how old was Palpatine when he killed his parents?
In Legends, he was a teenager.
Okay.
Like mid 13 or 14, I think.
So probably not that. But they could I suppose they could have accelerated that part of his timeline.
Remember that's Legends, so they could change that around.
They can do whatever the fuck they want with it.
Also, they don't have to do exactly 50 years, right? They could do something like 40, and they just have rounded up, right? Like, from what we can tell about the story, it's about a master and her Padawan who are investigating creepy crimes. And that's all we know, right? It would be an interesting premise, and it would be a really neat idea that they're following some crime that would eventually lead them to Plagueis. Like a murder or something.
Okay. Some
kind of like this like run-of-the-mill crime that they're just like, but then they discover a clue that's kind of weird, right? That they're like, oh wait, what's this about? And then they keep following it, and then by the end they're like, what the fuck? Like a True Detective kind of a thing.
Yeah.
Because I think that Star Wars Acolyte is going to be one of those shows that when Star Wars fans watch it, they're going to lose their shit, because I don't think anyone knows what to expect from it. And I think that they're going there. Like, I think that they're going into that Plagueis Palpatine area. And the second they press that button, everyone loses their mind. I guarantee it. I'm pretty sure that's what's about to happen.
It doesn't always have to be about Palpatine.
I understand.
He says, knowing that Bad Batch is a lot about Palpatine.
Everything seems to be about Palpatine, right? Because it's like the well that's like Lucasfilm was like, we can keep going back to that well and drinking from it.
What do we do for episode 9? Fucking somehow Palpatine returned.
Yeah. So tell us what you think in the comments about what you're thinking about Star Wars Acolyte. Just the cast alone is really great. I'm looking forward to it. I think it's when we get there, I think everyone's going to be freaking out. And you heard it here first, and I can't wait for it. I'm really excited. Other huge Star Wars news.
Okay.
The Star Wars Battlefront collection. Not
the new ones.
The old ones.
The old ones
are getting remastered releases.
Okay.
On console and PC with multiplayer support.
Ooh, that's pretty fun.
Next month.
That's really soon.
March 14th. You can pre-order them now. They're like $30 or something. And I'm going to buy the shit out of it because we've already talked about it. The Battlefront guys have already talked about, like, we're going to play it because there's a lot of nostalgia around those games. And my best friend in high school and I, in 2005, sat around his house and played Battlefront 2 on PlayStation 2 for hundreds of hours, just wasting time playing Battlefront. So I'm very much. In fact, I think we've played.
We did a little bit of the
couch co-op.
Battlefront 2 campaign.
Yeah, or the not the campaign, or not the campaign.
Galactic Domination or whatever the fuck it is.
Like the conquest thing.
Yeah, we were the clones beating up the droid army.
Right. So, you will be able to watch that on, like, I'll be streaming that on the channel when it happens. So, that will be a fun thing. Chris says, "May the Force be with you, Daniel and Chris. You were both having a good night and weekend. I'm really excited to see where Bad Batch Season 3 goes. I'm really liking the character development of Crosshair. I am really glad to see the High Republic come to live action. Me too. I think that that's one of those things. I don't know. It's the same people who really like to hate on the sequels, refuse to give the High Republic a chance because it's those are the same people that are like, oh, they're erasing the sequel trilogy, and everything that comes out of the High Republic, everything from Bad Batch to High Republic, possibly Andor, like everything is building out the story as a foundation for the sequel trilogy. It's very clear they're not erasing it.
I mean,
ever.
Obviously,
yeah, but like every new Star Wars thing is proof, right? Because they keep like building it into the story, and in fact, that's a really good springboard for Bad Batch because the first 3 episodes premiered last
Wednesday.
Last Wednesday. And I, like, on one hand, like it's like cool. I got 3 episodes to watch, but it's like shit. I have to break down 3 episodes. Like we have to do 3 episodes for the show. So let's start with some just off the cuff, non-spoilery thoughts about the first 3 episodes.
Okay. I've said it before, but D. Bradley Baker has got to be one of the best voice actors in the business. Like there's so many parts of this show. They're just D. Bradley Baker talking to himself in different voices, and he manages to convey so much emotion and history in these characters.
There's a really surprising part of his CV that I was like, oh, really? In the original Nickelodeon Avatar: Last Airbender, he plays Aang's Sky Bison.
Oh shit! I didn't know that.
Just grunts and yeah.
Appa's great though.
Yeah. So there you go. Yeah.
Neat.
He's all over the fucking place. Yeah.
Well, I mean, to be a voice actor, you kind of have to be.
Yeah.
The music. We talked. Greg Kiner, is that his name?
I think so. Hold on a second.
Because I know back during Ahsoka we said
Kevin Kiner.
Yeah. Kevin Kiner. Okay, so back during Ahsoka we specifically commented on the music because it was gorgeous, and it was Kevin Kiner who had also done the music for Clone Wars and all that.
Rebels, yeah.
And he's doing that again for this show. I noticed it was at least in the credits for the 3rd episode. He had 2 other listed co-composers who were both had his last name.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
I'm assuming maybe it's his kids or like his kid and his wife or something.
Yeah,
but
yeah, that's interesting. I didn't know that. Because look, the actual Bad Batch theme, not the opening like the snare drum thing.
Yeah,
like the actual has this like old school 90s television feel to it because it's like it's a very memorable melody, but it's like it's very marchy and shit, but
then it has that soaring string section,
like the B section. Yeah. Like when that shit kicks in, you're like, fucking go. Like that shit's really neat. Yeah. And there are a couple of quotations as you go along too with some character cameos.
Yeah.
Like in this third season.
In this 3 episode sequence, there's actually a bunch of like moody electronic stuff that I kind of liked.
Yeah. Everything about that is pretty neat. the story so far, as I mentioned, is directly being fleshed out to support the sequel trilogy, right?
Yeah.
So, and this wasn't the best way to do it. Like, I totally agree that, like, they did Palpatine came back. And
now they have to justify it.
And they're like, don't worry about how there'll be an animated show later.
It was Fortnite.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it.
And now they're like, okay, we need to write a story.
Shit, we need to actually explain how he returned.
So we have to like build the foundation out, make it make sense so that it's not stupid. And people are already kind of confused about it. Ian McDiarmid is confused about it.
Yeah.
He doesn't realize that Rey's father is a clone. Like, Ian McDiarmid thought that Palpatine fucked somebody.
Ian McDiarmid is a good company man, though, so he'll go out and say whatever he thinks Disney wants to hear.
So, like, people aren't necessarily, like, they don't understand how Rey and Palpatine were related, and like Palpatine coming back could be Sith cloning, because that's what they did in Legends, right? And that makes that it was good enough in Legends. It wasn't a great story in Legends, but it's whatever.
Some author wanted to write a Palpatine story, and so he justified it.
And it's like, those comics are fucking cool. It's neat. Not necessarily the best story, but I think everyone's like fine with it. So like the Palpatine coming back as a clone, first of all, isn't even new in Star Wars. And them just explaining it with, it's weird Sith stuff. Like, okay, that's fine. The Force works in mysterious ways.
Could have done that.
The thing that everyone was like, what? is Rey being his descendant. Because automatically you're like, so he had a girlfriend? Or a wife?
Or a baby mama?
Or, just a friends with benefits?
Yeah.
Which
concubine?
Yeah, which we know are like one of the Sith Eternal. Like all of the women are just like, oh, what a bleak and very Sith thing.
Let's not go there. Let's try and reel it back a little bit.
As we know, Rey's father was a failed Strandcast clone of Palpatine, and I'm going to set this up now, and then when we get to episode 3, we'll talk about it. The idea was that Palpatine needed a clone that he could put his aura in, and the clone needed to be strong enough to hold it, and Rey's father wasn't strong enough to hold it, and for whatever reason he let him live, and let him as a kid run around Exegol and shit.
Because it amused Palpatine, probably.
Or whatever, yeah. Or maybe he thought, we'll just make him a Sith Eternal. He can be one of my, because Palpatine needs his, the guys in the stands.
The guys who cheer.
Yeah, he's got to have someone there for when he's like, yes. Yeah. So, there. Now, before I start on this, I have been recently rereading the original Timothy Zahn trilogy. Okay. Which I think is universally a beloved Star Wars thing, right? Because it's fucking cool.
Generally considered the best of the Legends books, I'd say.
Yeah, between that and Kevin J. Anderson's Jedi Search books with Admiral Dalla and those were fire as well. Which, by the way, first of all, I had forgotten that this trilogy is where they set up why Yoda went to Dagobah, which was when he was a younger Jedi. He chased a dark rogue Jedi there and killed him, which created the Force Cave.
Oh.
And he, after the fall of the Jedi, he went there because his presence was so powerful in the Force. He went there so that the Force Cave would mask his presence in the Force. They would kind of cancel each other. They're like noise canceling headphones, right? Like that. That's the book. The first book in the Timothy Zahn series is where they do that. Another huge thing in the original the original trilogy is that Thrawn is back. No, well, he's not back. He's there.
He's here.
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I think he is back in this too,
because he was off doing something and then he came back.
Right. And he, the Emperor has the secret cloning facility on a planet called Wayland, called Mount Tantus. And next to Mount Tantus, there's a little town. And the town's leader is an old Jedi. Who's not actually a Jedi. He's a clone of an old Jedi called Joruus Cyboth. And Thrawn shows up one day, and he's like, well, first of all, I want all the shit in Mount Tantus. That's the first thing.
Yeah.
The second thing, we're going to take everything back. Like, the Republic's going down. I'm taking everything back. And I'm a brilliant military strategist. But you know what would really help our efforts is if you did your battle meditation shit. And Sayoboth, who is an egomaniac, is like, okay, but what are you going to do for me? And he's like, you can have Luke Skywalker and his sister and her children. And you can mold them into whatever kinky force shit you want. And Sayoboth's like,
fucking sign
sold.
me up.
Yeah. And there's the whole thing with the Salamari, which are these little things that...
The force-canceling lizards.
Right. Like force-canceling headphones, yeah. So... the reason I brought that up...
I was going to say, we got to reel this back a little bit.
The reason I brought that up is because this episode opens on a planet called Wayland with a ship flying toward Mount Tantus, which is directly from the original Thrawn trilogy.
Okay.
Which is a huge tip of the hat to Old Legends fans.
Well, of course.
And people, like, they don't make a big deal. Like, they're not like, oh, welcome to Wayland, the planet Wayland. Would you like to know more about Wayland? Wink, right? It's not anything super obvious. You have to look to find the actual information. But it's just really neat that it's Wayland and shit. So we open up with a shuttle showing up. They've got something to drop off or something, and they fly in. It gets hit by lightning and crashes, right? And they call for help. And Hemlock, who is the evil doctor guy. Is like, hey, why isn't the shuttle here yet? And they're like, it just fucking crashed. And
he got struck by lightning.
Yeah, and like, oh, that sucks. And they, like, from the comms, they hear, like, the stormtroopers.
Oh my God, we're being eaten!
Right. And one of the guys is like, should we send help? He's like, nah, they're
fuck them.
Yeah, they're pretty fucked if they're outside of the perimeter because they're like monsters or something out there. So the next morning, Dr. Carr shows up, who is at the end of the season 2 post credits.
Yeah, she's the Kiwi lady.
Yeah, she's older Omega. She's
with the goggles.
Yeah, right. And so she shows up to Omega's room, which is actually a cell.
I also want to mention, like, one of those really cool electronic themes I was talking about in the music is like pretty much anytime Omega is in her cell, you get that really cool.
Yeah, actually, I also like in the first and third episode, I really appreciate how there are long stretches of time without music too, which it just kind of like, there's something so quiet about Mount Tantus. Everyone's being very quiet. It's not like, you can tell Hemlock's the kind of guy where, like, if you turn on music, he's like, turn it off. You know, he's just kind of an asshole. So the next morning, Dr. Carr shows up to her cell, and she's like, hey, how you doing? And Omega's like, I'm a prisoner here. Fuck off is how I'm doing. And Dr. Carr's like, no, it's not that bad. We've got a ton of shit.
We can always make it worse.
Yeah. We've got a ton of shit to do today, so let's go. And she makes a comment about how, like, it's safer there than it is outside. Again, hinting at the monsters or whatever the fuck. So they start chores, right? And, like, on their way to chores, they pass Crosshair, who's being corralled. He is looking real bad.
Yeah.
He's not enjoying his time there, I don't think. He's not having a good time. So Dr. Carr tells Omega, she's like, okay, one of the things we're doing, everyone gives a blood sample, including you. And she's like, why? And she's like, don't fucking worry about it.
It's science, baby.
It's how we're all serving our purpose here. You got to pitch in, and you're going to pitch in with your blood. And she's like, that sounds weird. And she's like, look around. Nothing normal about the place where we are currently at. So she's like, okay, whatever. She asks about her brothers, which is a thing that she starts referring to a lot more in the first and third episode, where she starts referring to other clones as her siblings, right? Her brothers, she means Hunter and Wrecker. And Carr's like, I don't fucking know. I've never met those guys. Don't ask me. So Omega is like, hey, why didn't I ever see you on Camino? Because we're literally the same clone. Like, you're just me grown up with weird fucking goggles and shit. And Carr says, she was like, I was taken somewhere else until Dr. Hemlock took me under his wing, which is, like, real creepy sounding. Yeah. It's like, did he fuck you? Or, like, what are you talking about? So,
do you think Hemlock fucks?
I'm sure it's real. Okay, so
because I don't think he does.
Okay, look.
I think he's just really fucking weird and would be way too scientific about the whole thing.
Okay, Non-musicians aren't going to get this, and that's fine. Look it up on Wikipedia because it's real fucking weird. Are you aware of the Australian composer Percy Grainger?
Oh God, I know where you're going with this.
He was a sadist.
Yes.
And like there's a famous museum with like a pair of his bloodied underwear because he liked to have women.
He and his wife like to fucking whip each other.
Specifically, I think he liked to be whipped bloody.
That would make him a masochist, not a sadist.
Or whatever. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. I haven't delved too far into that, so I'm not necessarily... Yeah. So I imagine that he's either like that, where like later on when they have this is all the weird shit happening when the Empire was happening. Here's a pair of Dr. Hemlock's bloody shorts. Or it's going to be like a Joffrey from Game of Thrones thing where like he gets really horny, gets some prostitutes in a room, and then shoots them with a crossbow. and that's how he gets off, right? I think it's one of those two things.
Okay.
Or he's an incel.
I think that's
with a haircut like that. I'm kidding. I'm kidding. If you have a haircut like that, that's fine. So anyway, he took Dr. Carr under his wing, and Omega refers to her as a sister, and she's like, I'm glad I'm not alone here, and it makes Carr like visibly uncomfortable. She's like, oh, I don't like this personable thing.
Yeah.
Like this. I'm not equipped for feelings. Please stop.
We don't do that here.
Yeah. So Omega is sent to Nala Se's lab. And she's like delivering
with all the blood samples,
right? So she shows up, and Nala says like, "Did they make you take a blood sample?" And Omega's like, "Yeah." And he's like, "Okay, which one is yours?" And she's like, "That one." And she's like, "Okay, I'm just gonna put that one over here," and throws it away.
Yeah,
right. And she's like,
"Why the fuck did you do that?"
The fuck? And she's like, "Look, Hemlock brought you here to make sure that I comply, and there's some weird M count experiments happening here. I can't talk too much about it." Some weird shit happening.
It's safer for everyone
right.
if you just don't get tested.
Yeah. Let me just say that no one's sample has produced the desired result. She doesn't get into what the desired result is. And then Hemlock shows up, and in my notes I have Hemlock shows up and is a dick.
Yes.
Pretty much.
That's who he is. That's what he does.
So Omega goes on to her next shore, which is taking care of the Lorca hounds.
Yeah.
Which are...
feeding the dogs.
Yeah. They're hounds that scare away the monsters, right? Only if there are several of them. They can like team up on them and shit. So she's supervised by a sentry droid. And Omega, of course, has a favorite Lorca hound because it's Omega, and she has lots of feelings about everything. And so she calls it Batcher.
Which it took me an embarrassingly long time to realize it's a reference to the Bad Batch.
No, I get it too, because I was like, what? It's a stupid dog name. Because I've had dogs my entire life, and like I like naming dogs. I was like, I'd never name my dog Batcher. I get it. Okay. Yeah. So Batcher is refusing to eat, mostly because the food there sucks. And so she's
doesn't want to eat kibble.
Right. So Omega's like, here, you can have
some chicken nuggets.
Yeah, whatever. So, and he eats it, and you can tell that he's like, you're not so bad. Maybe I won't immediately kill you. So her next chore is harassing Crosshair in itself. So like she sneaks in.
I don't think this is a chore. I think it's just something that she does.
Yeah, I think it's on her list. Yeah. So like she's like, okay, blood samples, Lorca hounds,
feed the dogs.
Let's go harass Crosshair.
Annoy Crosshair.
Yeah. So she shows it like she finds a way to get in past the guards and shit. And
Crosshair's like, go away.
He's like, do you have any idea how bad my life is here without you harassing me? And then you show up to the only place where I have any alone time, and here you are talking. And she's like, okay, we got to escape. And Crosshair's like, you idiot, I already tried to escape.
Did you think I wasn't trying?
Yeah, like this is the end of the line. Like, sorry, this is
fucking good. Take all my blood until I die.
Yeah. And so she likes to tell him about her day and shit, right? And she's like, I met Dr. Carr, and like, I think, because we're like sisters and shit, and like maybe I can trust her. And he's like, you fucking idiot. No.
I like that your interpretation of Crosshair, every sentence starts with you fucking idiot.
And he's like,
I imagine he's like that when he's talking to the rest of the Bad Batch too. Yeah. Like Hunter tells him to do so, he's like, you fucking idiot.
So he's like, you're too trusting. And she's like, well, you're not trusting enough. And he's like, this argument is going nowhere. And so she's like, mark my words, I'm breaking out of here and I'm taking you with me. And he's like, okay.
Would you like to say that a little louder for the security cameras?
Let everyone
maybe?
know, right? Yeah. So, and then he like goes back to bed. So Omega goes back to her cell, and she scratches another day on the wall. And I think she's been there for just over 2 weeks, right? And she's got a little doll, just like she had on the ship.
Yeah. That she has put together from straw from the dog pens.
Yeah, right. So, yeah, she's got that. So some time has passed, and like she has longer hair and shit.
There's like 4 or 5 times as many scratches on the wall.
She goes through her same routine, right? She does the blood sample. She annoys Crosshair. Nala Se throws her sample away.
Feeds the dogs.
Yeah. And I will say that we're going to have to talk about the experiment because it's a huge linch point of the story. They have this clock-shaped apparatus where they put the vial of blood in, several vials of blood in.
They spin. There's a little thing that gets added
drops
to it.
more blood into it. Gets a negative result. Turns.
Yep.
Right. So, in the dog pen, it turns out that Batcher was injured on a patrol.
Poor guy.
So he's got a cut on his arm, and of course it's the Empire. So the droid is like, yeah, we're gonna probably put it down. And she's
like, you don't need to do that.
Yeah, I mean, it's like he's got a cut on his arm.
Yeah.
Like this is treatable.
Let me just fix it.
It's a dog. It's like. Yeah. It's like euthanizing a person for a paper. Like this is not this is not that big of a deal.
This is not efficient.
So she takes a first aid kit off and cleans it and shit. And the Hound at first is like, I might bite your face off. And he's like, oh yeah, you gave me chicken nuggets. Yeah. So that's like, everything's fine. She goes to harass Crosshair, right? And she's telling Crosshair about the Lorca Hound. She's like, I have a dog now, and his name's Batcher, and we're like, and when we escape, I'll probably bring him with us. And she's like, I think actually I'm going to steal a better med pack, and that way I can like properly treat him and shit, like maybe give him some stitches and shit. And Crosshair's like, you fucking idiot. Like, you have a thing for lost causes.
Yes.
Like the Lorca Hound, like this situation, you're just very young and naive, and it pisses me off. So they of course talk about escape because Omega is like very focused on escaping. Yeah. And she's like, well, I'm not going to leave you behind. And he's like, I would leave your ass behind, just so you know. And like no one, audience and Omega included, believe him, right? Because we know he wouldn't actually leave Omega behind. So no one's convinced by this. And Omega refers to Crosshair as her brother, which he's like, God damn it.
You fucking idiot.
So Crosshair says this really sad thing that he belongs where he is. And you can tell maybe for the first time in two seasons in an episode, he feels some remorse for the shit that he's done. And maybe this is the situation that it took for him to kind of realize what he's done, right? And also you get this feeling like if he could do it again and do it differently, he probably would. So back in her cell, Omega has a surprise inspection, and they find her fucking...
You're not allowed to have a doll.
They find her
Fuck
doll,
you.
and Car's like, okay, I'm gonna throw this away, and it's for your own good, kid. And she's like, please don't. She's like, don't, not the feelings, no. So she goes to throw it away. Nala Se and Hemlock have a conversation about the progress of their experiments, and I think it's interesting that to get into this secret vault, they pass through a series of red laser doors. Not unlike episode 1, and not unlike Mandalorian season 3, where Gideon
goes through the bajillion doors
to talk to the Shadow Council. It's a lot like that. Yeah. The Empire has like a style guide.
They've got a thing.
They're like, when it's very important, you need 6 laser doors. Like, this is how it is.
It's like you remember this very old show called Get Smart? The opening sequence, he walks through a bunch of high security doors. Don't worry about it. Okay. We can look it up later.
Okay. So, Hemlock's not very impressed with how everything's going, right? And it turns out that whenever they put the M count blood into the ordinary blood, the M count is severely diminished. And if you're here and you don't know anything about Star Wars, first of all, how the fuck...
It's midi-chlorians.
Yeah, it's midi-chlorians, and you can tell that, like, fans don't like the word midi-chlorians, so we're going to call it an M count because... Lucas kind of fucked us
totally
with this.
Different.
Yeah, right. They're like, could do this different, we would, but sorry. So, Hemlock's like, look, I'm gonna do bad shit to Omega if you don't do more science. You do sciencey stuff and make it work. And if not, I'll probably kill the kid,
break her legs or something.
And he does the maybe the Emperor isn't as forgiving as I am, and it's like that thing from Return of the Jedi. It's like the Emperor is coming here, like so he's going to be on his way. So good news, Batcher is healing.
Yay!
Bad news, they're going to kill him anyway because he's too domesticated, right? And Omega obviously isn't thrilled about this, so she gets into a fight with a sentry droid, drops a cage on top of him,
kicks its ass.
Yeah,
takes
Batcher's control collar off and lets him go and tells him to fuck off. And he's like, you come with? And she's like, no, because I have to get Crosshair. And she's like, okay, fuck it, and leaves, right? So Hemlock and Dr. Carr show up because they're keeping a closer eye on her than she thinks.
Side note, why the fuck were they letting her walk around in the first place? Like, why not just keep her in a cage in Nala Se's room just so that Nala Se knows that she's alive and keeps working?
I think there's a lot of information to be gleaned from her doing things where she doesn't think people are watching her.
Maybe.
So Hemlock and Dr. Carr show up. And Omega is like, Hemlock, you're an asshole. And
Hemlock's like, yes, that's my entire character.
And she's like, I get it. Like, I'm here to keep Nala Se in line. And Hemlock's like, look, I can't hurt you. You're right. But if you keep fucking around, I'm going to kill Crosshair. And she's like, oh, that's rude. That's okay.
That's fucked up.
So Hemlock's like, you're grounded. Go back to your room. And Carr shows up, gives her doll back, which is a kind of a moment, like a moment, right?
So maybe she does do that emotion stuff.
Right at the end of the episode, Batcher finds the crashed shuttle from the beginning of the episode and starts rummaging through it. All right. So we got 20 minutes to do 2 more.
All right. We're going to go fast. So episode 2, we open in fucking Roland the Deveronian's place where he's,
the horny boys.
Yeah, he's holding court with his mom. The mama is talking to this other Deveronian and decides, like, you know what? Fuck you. And presses the button that sends him down into the bottomless pit under the laser floor. So
the most inefficient thing I've ever seen.
So then Hunter and Wrecker come in, and they have the pike that fucking cut Roland's horn off. And they're like, hey, we got this idiot for you. And the mom's like, great, why don't you take him off and go have him killed or something.
Which, by the way, I was like, oh, it's an episode of The Bad Batch with The Bad Batch.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, is only Hunter and Wrecker now.
Is vastly diminished,
I was like, well, there are only 2 of them.
Well,
I was like,
Crosshair's in prison. Tech is dead.
Allegedly. Omega's in prison.
Echo is off with Rex.
Doing rebellion stuff.
Yeah, so it's just them. So Hunter and Wrecker are like, all right, you're going to pay us now? And Mom is like, yes, absolutely. Here's everything I know about Hemlock and where he's hanging out.
Did you recognize the voice actor that plays the Queen Deveronia?
I did not.
Did you ever see the old school Addams Family? Like from the 90s?
A couple episodes, but I don't really remember.
No, like the films.
Oh, no.
Like the live action films. The very, like, Morticia Addams, long black hair, creepy. Yeah. That was her.
Oh,
yeah,
neat.
Yeah, very famous actor. In this throwaway fucking
So now we're in hyperspace, and Hunter is looking around. He sees like Tech's goggles and Omega's doll, and he gets real depressed. Wrecker's like, so Echo and Rex are going to join us in 2 days. And Hunter's like, fuck that. We need to go find Omega right the fuck now. So they drop out of hyperspace, and they go to this jungle planet that we very quickly find out is not Wayland. So, like, they don't pick up anything on their sensors. And Hunter's like, it might be the Empire jamming us. Let's just go fucking take a look. So they get down to the lab, and it's, like, kind of blown up and overgrown with vines.
Lots of vines.
Yeah. So they're like, all right, we're just going to go check it out anyway. And they get ambushed by 2 teenage, like, reg clones, except they're clones, so, like, they're maybe, like, 1 year old or something. I don't know.
These guys were, do you remember the second Deadpool movie with Thanos, the guy who played Thanos? And there's the shorter, rounder New Zealand kid that can shoot the fire.
Oh, yeah.
Like the one that kills... what's his name's family. He's the reason he's coming back in time to kill him. Okay, yeah. It's that actor is because he's from New Zealand and you know.
So Hunter's like, have you guys seen Omega? And the clones are like, no, we've never seen a girl in our entire lives.
Right. Yeah, we've been masturbating to what we assume girls are.
Yeah.
We've never actually seen one.
Like, look,
we know they're out there. Yeah. We've seen pictures, but like that's it.
We've heard legends.
Yeah. Yeah.
Look, we don't know where the fuck she is. Maybe our buddy Mox does. Let's go talk to him. So they're like, all right, we're going to walk through this jungle. I need you to follow us exactly. Stay exactly on the path that we are going, and do not touch any vines.
Yeah, we only have one rule here. Don't touch the vines.
Don't touch the vines.
Wrecker,
don't
touch the vines.
So they're like, yeah, the Empire is doing some really fucked up science out here, but we were able to escape before the facility got blown up from orbit. So on the way, they're walking, and Wrecker, of course, touches a vine. And the vine turns out to be this giant fucking tentacle monster that starts attacking them. Yeah. And Hunter and Wrecker are shooting back. And Clone's like, don't shoot, you're going to make it angry. And they're like, it's already fucking angry.
The vine is up my ass.
Yeah.
It's angry already.
So
which, by the way, when they cut a piece off, it does John Carpenter's The Thing and starts crawling around. Or maybe the face huggers from Aliens.
Maybe a little bit, yeah. But so they managed to get away, and the Clone's like, yeah, those are slither vines. The Empire was trying to make them as some sort of fucked up weapon. Now it's just everywhere. Yeah. So fuck us, I guess.
They lost control of it, and they're like, fuck this. Yeah. We'll come back with the Death Star.
So they make it up to their hideout on this rock, and they talk to Mox. Mox is like, okay, I don't know who Omega is. I'm like my buddies. I've never seen a girl in my life. But I do know Hemlock. He was definitely here. Hunter's like, okay.
He likes to get whipped. Yeah. Don't ask us how we know.
That's kind of weird. Yeah. Hunter's like, okay, look, I'll take you guys to Wanda Sykes' Paradise Island, but you got to help me find Omega or any clues of where she is. One of the clones is like, well, god damn it, I want to get out of here. I'll help you go find it. There's a data console inside the base. We can just go down there and get all this data. And the other clone's like, hey, you fucking idiot. It's a suicide mission. You're going to get eaten by slither vines.
You remind us of a friend.
Yeah.
That we have that calls us fucking idiots all the time.
Wrecker's like, okay, we got this console. It's powered down. I have a great idea. Let's just go back to the ship. He picks up Gonky, straps Gonky to his back, and they go off down to the base. Which, that's my favorite part of this whole episode, honestly. Yeah. Gonky strapped upside down to Wrecker's back.
That poor droid.
Yeah. So they make it down to the lab, and the kid is like, all right, there's slither vines everywhere. Watch your step. Do not stand on anything. Do not touch anything. So they're walking through, and they get attacked by slither vines. Of course they do. They run away, and there's also little vine spider things.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
from The Thing. Yeah.
So back at the camp, the other clones are like, well, they have a ship, and we're just sitting right here, and we could probably steal their ship and get out of here. Yeah. So they decide to go check out the ship. Bad Batch finds the console in this room with a giant lake that looks really gross and bubbly. So they hop across some debris, and Wrecker puts Gonky down, and they plug him in, and they get power to the console. So they can start downloading the data. Unfortunately, there's something coming after them. The Hunter's like, I think there's something coming after us. It's not the slither vines, it's something else.
I know this because I'm a hunter.
Yeah.
I have senses about things like this.
All of a sudden, giant tentacles pop out from the water and start harassing them, and they start shooting in.
It looks a whole bunch like a Sarlacc, by the way.
Spoilers?
Yeah.
We haven't gotten there yet.
Oh.
It
looks like a Sarlacc.
So the clones get the ship unlocked, they hotwire the door outside, and they're taking a look around, and holy shit, there's a bunch of cool shit on here. And they're thinking, we could just steal this and get out of here, and it doesn't matter where we go.
They're still talking about it.
Yeah.
They're still deliberating.
But their buddy calls on the radio. It's like, hey, we're getting attacked by this fucking tentacle monster. Can you guys get down here and help us? So Bad Batch is like, all right, look, whatever data we got is all we're going to get. We need to get the fuck out of here. So they run, and they jump across the water to get to this other thing. And things are looking pretty bad for them when suddenly there's a spotlight, and the ship is up above and coming down. And one of the clones drops cables down so they can ride up, and they get most of the way up, and then the vines grab the ship and start pulling it down. And this is when the fucking Sarlacc mouth comes out of the water, and you say, oh my god, it's a fucking mutated Sarlacc.
Yeah, it doesn't have a beak.
No.
It looks,
it's the non-special edition.
The OG Sarlacc, yeah.
So okay, we're shooting it. It's not really doing anything. Wrecker's like, I have a grenade. Let me just fucking throw this thermal detonator down there. Hey, it almost works.
The monster's like, no, I don't like that.
Hunter's like, okay, we need a lot more of those. Clones, why don't you go grab all the bombs we have?
Go get Wrecker's box of bombs.
Yes. Get Wrecker's box of bombs.
It's next to the loop.
And just throw it down there. And then the clone like saves one thermal detonator. They throw the box down there, drops in the last thermal detonator, it blows up, and the Sarlacc doesn't like it that much.
Yeah, it's like, no, go away now, please.
And they get away. So now they're in hyperspace, and Hunter is analyzing the data while he's watching Wrecker interact with the clones, because of course Wrecker gets along well with kids because he is a child. Yeah. So Hunter's like, okay, I analyzed the data. Turns out Hemlock is in another sector entirely. I'm going to drop you kids off on Wanda Sykes' Paradise Island, and you can make a new life for yourself. But me and Wrecker, we can't do that yet because we got to go find Omega. And we get one last shot of Omega's stuffed bunny, and then there's credits.
Yeah. So there are a couple callbacks to, like, obviously you need to know what happened in season 2, right? Mm-hmm. And they've, like, the reference to the island, the guy that lost his horn is like from the last episode of season 2.
Something like that, yeah.
And it reminded me that when they run into SITH again, because they're going to run into her,
yes,
they need to shoot her in the head.
They need to, but I don't know if they will.
I will not accept any other outcome for SITH. That fucking traitor.
That's fair.
Just saying. If I were writing Bad Batch, it'd be a lot darker.
Yeah.
They would tie her head to the front of their ship. And this is snitches get stitches.
They also wouldn't shoot to stun all the time.
Oh yeah, they do that a lot. Yeah.
Like I mentioned this in a conversation on our Discord actually. The show does a really good job most of the time of showing the Bad Batch like shooting stun bolts whenever they're fighting like other clones or stormtroopers or anything remotely human.
Yeah.
But I'm gonna leave that and let you get going on this.
So, back on Wayland, Mount Tantus, so Omega has like her routine down, right?
Yeah.
Blood samples, dogs, annoy Crosshair, go back to bed.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So it's a new day on Wayland, and it is a much busier day than people are used to. And there are clone commandos, stormtroopers everywhere. It's like all hands on deck, right? Mm-hmm. And like everyone's marching around and shit. And inside like where they do the blood shit, the car is like looking around and was like, shit, there's a lot of people. Like, what the fuck's going on? And Omega's like, why the fuck is everyone here? And she's like, no one tells me anything. Yeah. So Dr. Hemlock and Nala Se show up, right? And Hemlock's like, we have a guest. And they're like, great. Is it the fucking Emperor? And he's like, yeah.
How'd you know?
Steal my thunder.
That
son
was
of a
supposed to be classified.
Yeah. So he's like, Car, you're going to take care of Nala Se's laboratory while she's away because we're going to go off and blow the boss. Mm-hmm. Like, because we're big shots. Right?
We're going to kiss his ass.
Yeah. So Nala Se realizes that, like, if she's not there, no one's there to throw Omega's sample away, which she's been doing apparently once a day
for months,
right? Yeah. So she's like, oh, maybe I should do the blood part and then I'll come with you. And he's like, fuck off. No. Like, no, Dr. Care, she has fucking glasses. Like, she knows how to do this, okay? And so a clone commander shows up and is like, the shuttle's here. Don't freak out. The shuttle's here. And he's like, okay, go, like, send some escorts. They send some escorts and shit. Mm-hmm. And Nala Se is like watching the blood tray with Omega's sample in it, right? And she's like, oh god. So
they actually do this fairly well. Like, Nala Se is like looking this way while Omega's behind her and is like, okay, if you had any plans to escape, today would be a really good day to do them.
So once everyone leaves, Nala Se is like, we're all so fucked. Listen to me. You have to run. And Omega's like, you're really creeping me out. And she's like, no, really. Fuck off.
Get the fuck out of here.
I know you've been trying to escape. Do it today. Because the second they test your blood, we're all fucked. and she's like, bye. Right? And she leaves. So before she goes, so Omega's like, so that's why I've been destroying my blood. She's like, yes,
obviously,
you fucking idiot. Yes. So she tells her about the project, right? And then the Imperials come in to get Nala Se. And so she's like, before she goes, she's like, go to my room, don't open the drawer, but go get my data pad, and it'll let you into places you're not supposed to go and shit. And she's like, take a shuttle and fuck off. And then she leaves with Hemlock. This whole thing is happening. Like, she's like whispering it. Hemlock, who
is like, Nala we need to go right the fuck now.
Right. So, Nala and let's see, they go to the blood testing facility, right? And they find out that it's the Emperor who's there or whatever. Mm-hmm. So Omega, who is like trying to figure out a way to like throw her blood sample away, but can't get a chance to, and like she's just kind of like standing there all like, what the fuck do I do?
Kind of awkwardly.
Yeah. And Car's like, do you have the flu? And she's like, yes. And she's like, okay, well, why don't you go and
just go take a nap? That'll make you feel better.
While she's not looking, she steals Nalace's data pad and fucks off.
Her tablet, her iPad.
The Emperor has arrived. Fucking shuttle pulls up. Everyone's out, lined up in pretty lines. Fucking Royal Guard comes off. You have John Williams' theme for the Emperor. Palpatine steps off. Voiced in this episode by Ian McDiarmid, by the way. So, he's like, steps off. He's like, yes, everyone, feast your eyes upon
suck
me.
my dick.
So Hemlock's like, oh, perfect Emperor. Hello. Let me give you everything here is going great, by the way. Nothing, like, you're going to be so happy when you leave today. You're going to be specifically happy with me. Nothing bad will happen to me. You'll be so impressed with what we're doing here. And he's like, first, our exotic matter facilities have expanded so that we can take a look at bigger assets.
Okay.
Which I think is the Zillow Beast. Okay. If you know what I'm talking about, put it in the comments. I'm not sure if you do or not. Maybe we'll talk about it after this. Okay. And he's like, and this one thing is expanding to 200%, and this is, and we've got prisoners we take blood from and shit. And Palpatine's like, cut this shit. Like, okay, all that shit's cool.
Why I'm here.
All that shit's great. Like, I'm going to use it, obviously, but you know why I'm here. We need to talk about Project Necromancer. And so he's like, okay,
Project Necromancer.
let me show you my dungeon. Right. And so they go into the glowing red chamber. Meanwhile, Omega is getting into places she shouldn't be with the data pad, right? This is really funny. She gets on an elevator, and the door, like, and a mouse droid's about to come in, and she's like, fuck you, and like kicks it, and the door closes, and then the mouse droid's like,
the fuck, man?
Okay, I guess I'll go along with it.
Guess that's what we're doing today.
Yeah. So she goes to Crosshair, and she's like, we're escaping, and he's
Crosshair's like, you fucking idiot.
What's your plan? And she's like, I'm improvising. He's like, what? That's not how you do this.
That's not a plan.
Do you know where we are? Like, we can't improvise something. And she's like, distract the fucking guards and I'll take care of it. And so he's like, oh God, okay. Maybe they'll just kill me. Maybe the sweet embrace of death will come for me.
We can only hope.
So, like, he calls the guys over, and I swear to God, at first I thought he was like trying to do a mind trick or something. He's like, you're going to let me out of this fucking cell. And
I was like, no, I'm
the stormtrooper's like, no. In fact, I think I outrank you. No, I definitely outrank you. And he's like, fuck you. Open the cell and give me your fucking gun. And he's like, no, bro. Like, this is a prison. You were in the cell. And she ends up, and
Crosshair's like, open the door, or I'm going to open it, kick your ass, and take your gun.
I'm gonna hit you, turn you around. Your buddy's gonna shoot you. I'm gonna shoot him. I've seen it in a dream. And
then the door opens, and Crosshair proceeds to do what he just said.
Flips him around, So they get out. She tells Crosshair that she's like, well, Nalse told me to get out today, or we're all gonna get fucked. And I have this data pad. We're gonna go find a shuttle. So once they get out, they hear some guys talking about the Emperor's visit, and Crosshair's like, the Emperor is here?
What?
You have no idea to what extent we are currently fucked. Like, all the shuttles are going to be, like, everything is fucked up. Like, this is the worst possible day to spring an escape. She's like, to be honest with you, I haven't been thinking that far ahead. He's like, clearly not.
Obviously.
Yeah. So, also, Omega notices that Crosshair has some shaky hands. Yeah. Because, like, during their escape, he misses a shot, which...
He never fucking does.
Crosshair doesn't miss shots. So, all the shuttles are grounded, right? And so, like, she's like, okay, we'll go steal this one. And he's like, look, we're going to get shot. And Omega's like, well, there was that shuttle in episode 1 that crashed. And like, maybe that one is.
Maybe the phone still works.
Yeah. And so.
Crosshair's like, you fucking idiot.
So I'm gonna wrap this up. Okay. This is the basic thing. They get to the vaults, Palpatine, and they talk about the experiments.
Yes.
And Palpatine's like, this is so fucking important. This is how the Empire lives forever. And by the Empire, I mean me.
Yes.
And he's like, okay. And he's like, you need to make sure this fucking happens. He's like, okay. And he's like, listen to me. You have all of the resources you need. However much money, whatever personnel you need. Motherfucker, I need to live forever. Get on it. And he's like, I'm on it.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So you see a look at there are like these fucking, everything's red and black. You see there are cloning tanks and shit. There's like Sith runic shit around like the diameter of the room and shit. It looks real fucking cool.
Yeah.
Of course, they like, Omega's like, I need my dog. And so they go down to the hounds and they end up escaping the base through, like she gets the collar off. Or no. He's already gone.
Yeah, he's already gone. But like they trip an alarm while they're
Which,
down
by the way,
there.
this that droid shows up, right?
Oh, yeah.
And Crosshair just like flips his blaster to kill, like fuck you, and like shoots him, right?
Yeah.
And then Dr. Carr shows up and he switches it back to safety because it's a person and it's a kid show, and Omega's like, thank God you're here. Look, we can escape. And Carr's like, no, none of the feelings things. This is for your own good, right? And like Crosshair has already made he's like, she's not going to help, and just shoots her and stuns her, right?
She sets off an alarm,
right?
So now they got to run.
They escape. They get to the entire time. All this is happening. Omega's blood sample is getting closer and closer to getting tested, right? It's literally like a ticking clock.
Yeah.
They get to the shuttle. They send another shuttle out to get them. They pull a cool, what is it? Plan
72 or something.
And so Crosshair distracts him. Omega gets him the ship, kicks the pilots out.
Knocks out.
Yeah. And they fuck off with the ship after they grab Batcher.
Yes.
And
in the process of this, I'm pretty sure Omega killed some guys because like she was shooting the ship's cannons at the stormtroopers, and there's no way she missed everything.
Those guys are dead. So Batcher is able to get on, and they take off, right? And then I think the remaining stormtroopers get eaten by the monster or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're flying off. Omega's blood gets tested, and it's the one that has a positive result.
Yeah. And there's a bunch of V-Wings chasing them.
Right. So
away.
Hemlock's like, just fucking kill him. Carr shows up.
It's like, don't fucking kill them!
Glasses askew. It's like, someone shot me. I don't have time to talk about it.
Don't kill them.
She's she got a positive result. Hemlock's like, oh shit.
Oh.
Let him go.
Yeah.
And everyone's like, what? And he's like, just fucking let him go.
We'll get her again.
They jump to hyperspace, and Hemlock's like, I just had a meeting with the Emperor. We have all the resources we need. It sucks that she escaped, but we'll get her back. Yeah. Don't worry about it. And that's where the episode ends. I think, right?
Yes. I don't remember anything else.
Yeah. That's the gist of it. So we're going to talk more about the cloning thing, and I'm going to read some comments from this stream and also some other stuff on a post we made earlier. So come join us for either Battlefront or Lego Star Wars. I don't know which one.